Hi everyone, it's Norman Kochannek here from Coogee, as in Coogee Beach actually this time in Sydney, Australia. My learned colleague Chris Vernon in our show, An Aussie A POM, talking all things India and beyond, will be here shortly. He was talking to me a minute ago, but his internet just left him. He's been texting me he should be on very soon. But we have a lot to talk about, don't we? I mean, clearly there's a very exciting match, I believe, between Pakistan and South Africa currently, and it's in Karachi as well, which to me is exciting. The fact that it's there, and South Africa have been particularly confusing. They're 220 all out. The first thing was very ordinary, some good Pakistani bowling, but some rather disappointing South African batting. And Pakistan were looking pretty dire at one stage when they were 4 down, but then, to their credit, they didn't lose their cool. They certainly did keep their batting performance up to date. And look at the fact that, of course, Babar Azam didn't do well. This one, Fawad Alam, 10 years in the making, has now scored 2 centuries. He scored a magnificent 109 with the help of Mohammad Rizwan, the keeper, who got 33. And then Fahim Ashraf also got at 64. And the tail, Hassan Ali, 21, Noam Ali, and Yasser Shah, not now 38. So they really had an incredible tail. It was quite incredible. And scored 378. Now, with a lead of some 158 on that first innings, Pakistan were in command, certainly, and should really be in a position on day 3 to be well and truly in front and be dominating the game and hopefully heading for a victory. But South Africa have come out in their second innings and gone from being all out for 220 to a rather surprising 1 for 144. And in fact, they've lost Dean Elgar, who is certainly one of the best batsmen in the world as an opener, for 29. But then Aiden Markram, 59, and Rassie van der Dusen, he's actually 49. So they're doing pretty well. Yasser Shah has taken the only wicket, and he doesn't seem to be quite as dramatically effective in the second inning. So from being 220 all out to now 1 for 144, a very solid innings by Pakistan, 378. It's becoming a bit of a scratch your head stuff as to what's going on there. They're almost on even keel now, and that shows that incredible performance. Look, I'm very impressed by the captaincy of Babar Azam. I think he handled things very well. Fawad Alam batted very well. Ashraf Ali got 51. He didn't look too bad either in the first innings. So they've got Pakistan. Sorry, have got some amazing strength in their batting. The bowling has been particularly good. Haris Rauf is still in the wings. He hasn't been given a berth in a test match yet. I'm looking forward to that, having dealt with him when he was in Australia over the last few years. Tremendously well kept, well-educated kid. Very, very articulate, as in a lot of panache about the way he talks, the way he knows his cricket, and he's a very, very, very decently brought up kid, and I'm very impressed with him. I see Haris Rauf making a test debut sooner or later. And once he gets in, my prediction is Haris Rauf will actually get a 5 for almost immediately and get a succession of 4s and 5s. As he's not the sort of bowler that will just sit there and get 1 for 50 or 60. He tends to get 4 or 5 wickets. He has this ability to bowl good length deliveries, some very good Yorkers at incredible pace. And he is, to me, a person that should be in the side. He's not yet. They seem to have gone away from him a little bit. He's not very far off. So that match between Pakistan and South Africa is particularly interesting. We've obviously had the match between England and Sri Lanka finished. Second test, I had a chat earlier in the week with Roshan obviously about that, and he was glowing about the match. Thought there were 2 areas where Sri Lanka could have had a chance. England did well. Spinners not quite up to it yet. We'll see how they go. But clearly, the series of note will come up next week on the 5th of February when India actually do play the likes of England at home, Chennai, turning wickets. Then they'll have 2 more in Ahmedabad at the new ground there. And I think that's Motera Stadium. To me, if they can get a crowd at that second match, the 3rd and 4th test, it'll be very interesting to see how, in fact, that is handled, because there certainly is a rampant amount of COVID-19 issues in India, unfortunately. But I do think that I think India India are certainly in the box seat. We've talked about it before. I think I'm seeing, and I was going to talk to Chris about it today. I think it'll be 3, either 0 or 3-1. There being a draw or no draw. I think there'll be a draw somewhere along the line, but I think India will win quite convincingly. I hope that I'm wrong somewhat. I like to see a closer series between the two sides, but look, the so-called test match, the actual final at Lords is at stake. At this point in time, it looks like New Zealand will be battling with India unless something dramatic happens. Australia have to play very well against South Africa, but it's unlikely that'll happen there. So Chris, looks like he was online talking to me quite happily. His internet seems to have gone bung, so we'll worry about that in a minute. Now, Arjun Menon wants to ask about Hardik Pandya and coming back into the Indian side to take on England. Well, if Jadeja's not available, he's not in the squad. Ashwin's doubts are still there around his fitness. Hardik Pandya certainly is knocking on the door and should be included. I mean, we can go back to the Indian batting lineup for a moment, as we've done in the past. I can't see them changing the top 4 at all. Well, sorry, I'll take that back. They'll have Rohit Sharma will bat with Gill. Pujara is number 3. Virat Kohli will return to number 4 with Rahane moving to 5. What an enormously strong batting lineup that is. Now, who will bat 6 is the question. I mean, Punt will certainly be in there. He'll probably bat 7. So that number 6 is the one that's up for grabs. Could well be a Pandya. Could well be an Agarwal. It could be even, well, I'm not sure about Bahari, but it's all about that. That's the position that needs to be questioned and answered. Is Kuldeep Yadav in the mix? That's a question. Is Bumrah fit? Siraj certainly should be there, and Washington Sundar is also commanding, a spot. My God, I wouldn't like to be an Indian selector. They've got a plethora of players to pick from, and I can't see them having a problem with selection. It's a matter of who they leave out, which is really the issue. And I'm seeing comment from Stephen John. I think the fellow's name is Stephen. You're saying 4-0. I'm very much aware of a Glenn McGrath from Australia when he starts talking 5-0 in a series. It's a very dangerous position to be in, to be saying 4-0. There's so many circumstances that could lead to a defeat or more so a draw. But I would say that India will win the first 2 test matches quite handsomely in Chennai with their bowling arsenal and their batting arsenal. Virat Kohli is going to come out like a bull out of a gate and take on England by the scruff of their necks. And I'm sure the century will abound in his first or second innings in that test match in Chennai. I cannot see them getting him out, or at least with a bit of bad luck, he'll be in there for a big score. And they're talking about England scoring 4 in the first thing to follow up with a 650 from India. I think that's not going to be possible. I don't think their scores are possible. They're possible, but England are going to struggle. Why? They played very well in Sri Lanka. I don't deny that. But the reality is that England have changed their lineup yet again, and there's reasons for it. Anderson and Broad won't be in the same side together. It looks they're both in great form, but they may not be in the same side. You've got Jofra Archer there on ice, ready to come in. Ben Stokes is a key factor. He's batting and bowling. His true grit, his aggressiveness, a la Kohli, is probably going to be an X factor there. England's batting lineup. Joe Root's a standout. He's got a century and a double century. He's certainly in incredible form, but he can't do it alone. I'm not seeing the other batters. I mean, obviously Bairstow's there, and Bairstow does love to face spin. There's even commentary that Bairstow may, in fact, open, which possible. I'm just not so settled on the English batting lineup. We'll see how they go. They're going to have a lot of trouble the first 2 tests, that's for sure. The Bud might level them up. If they get away with the first 2 tests with a draw in those 2, well, then they've done really, really well. I'm expecting to lose 2-0 in those first 2 tests, with potentially the third coming down to depending on the wicket, you might see a draw, and 4th being an Indian victory. I think 3-0 is pretty fair. So there's a comment here about Bairstow not playing. I'm not aware of that offhand. I thought he was. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll have to find out about that one. I apologise if I'm wrong, but if that is wrong, that's another blow for England. They probably need someone like that. To me, England have got nothing to lose, because in some ways you could argue they've already somewhat lost. and rampant in the inside on such amazing form. India will be a little bit down, I would argue, from a high of the fourth test at the Gabba. There'll be somewhat of a difficult to pick up a little bit because, and Chris has just mentioned he's having a shocker with the internet. Must be the English internet system. I don't know whether British Telecom, whatever they call it, must be a bit on the blink. Mine's going fine here. So look, I wanted to talk a lot about the India versus England series, but I must not take away from Pakistan and their match. I'm hoping you're all watching now. I hope you are taking note of that match because there's a lot of significance there. I think the Pakistan side are underrated unit. South Africa, I mean, their bowling attack, they've got Rabada, Norjay, Nagidi. They've got a few really good bowlers in there, but their batting line, and Quinton de Kock, we've had a lot of discussion, both Chris Vernon and Simon Willis the other day. They're very convinced about de Kock and his batting and his ability to be the so-called keeper. Look, I'm not saying he's not good enough. He certainly is, but he's been an opener at times. He's been a number 7. I don't really know. He's also captaining the side at the moment as well. And my thoughts are against that, looking at how Tim Paine's going. Tim Paine's admirable, not doing badly, but he's certainly struggling, I think, as a captain when you're keeping. It's very hard to be. Well, you certainly can't keep at your best, can you, if you're captaining, because your mind's elsewhere and concentration on each ball is very difficult. Against Lyon, there were certainly some severe mistakes made by Tim Paine, who's normally a very good gloveman. De Kock as captain, I don't. I'm just looking at the lineup. Faf du Plessis in the lineup there now. He was to me a standout captain, so I don't quite know what's gone on there regarding the captaincy of South Africa. De Kock's captain, I don't know what the story is there. Now, Reggie V has said that England's batting lineup will be Burns, Sibley, Crawley, Root. That's probably likely. That's a lot stronger with Burns in there. Burns is a very solid defender and probably is the right mix to try to keep the Indian bowlers out. Burns, Sibley, Crawley, Root. Yeah, I'd argue that's a stronger batting lineup, but there's a lot to be said about how they're going to handle that. Root, he's just gone off a century, double century. Very hard to continue batting in that manner through a series yet again. That'll be Bradman-esque if he starts scoring hundreds in India after having scored hundreds in Sri Lanka. I'm not expecting that, to be honest, but we'll see. There's been mentioned by Arjun Manoon, who's actually got quite a bit of commentary there, saying that Markham finally is beginning to show his talent. He was supposed to be the next big thing for South Africa. Well, he's not at 64 at the moment. He is taking a few deliveries to get there. He's 185 deliveries. Look, that's certainly is commendable. I'm not sure what's going on with the Pakistan bowling. They bowled particularly well in the first innings and good on them. And I've looked carefully at the scorecard. We had the likes of Yashir Shah took 3 wickets, and geez, he's a good bowler. He's a very good bowler. I know there's a lot of comment about where he bowls, but look, he did pretty well in Australia as well. I can recall he's got some Shane Warne rates him, which is to me the benchmark of how you rate a leg spin bowler. Shane Warne would know. He'd be the best judge of that. Let's just have a look. Now, there's been discussion around some aspects of the England side regarding their bowling. Now, they've got quite a few good fast bowlers. Obviously, Anderson, Broad, we know that. They've got an immense amount of wickets. Their records stand very, very high. I'm not exactly saying they're not the best in the world. They certainly are. Right, they're obviously up there. They command respect. With Mark Wood and Jofra Archer, well, you can't have all 4 in the side. That's certainly the case. So it'll be Anderson/Broad for one position. It may well be Wood/Archer for the other, because they're going to need 1 to 2 spinners in that lineup with Ben Stokes inside. I can see them going with 2 fast and 2 spin with the actual likes of Ben Stokes. There's also Folkes. Ben Folkes is the keeper. I think Butler's not there. I'm not sure about. I don't know about. I'm sorry. I was ill-informed if that was the case. But yeah, we've got a comment there from Anshuman Sinha about the fact that it's difficult for a team to lift itself after an emotional high. Look, that's going to be the case. We might be a little bit, no, I wouldn't say shocked, but we might be a little bit concerned about India's performance in the first test match. England have got their window opportunity there. They need to attack hard. They may well come in with Jofra Archer and Wood and really give it to England. But look, That didn't work for Australia on Australian conditions, including the Gabba, albeit not a green top, more of a dry top. Which again, if Australia had played the first test rather than the fourth at the Gabba, it would have been intriguing how that went. Not that India would not have understood. I'm not saying that, but had the Gabba been available first up, it would have been a different story. I think I've got Chris on now. Let's have a look. Chris has joined us. Let's see if
I'm here.
Gee, you're lucky,
Hello.
Chris, I can talk. You are lucky that I can talk for 15 minutes about everything. So what was your story? What now, we need to tell the viewers what on earth you were doing for the last 15 minutes. What were you doing?
My internet decided to blow up, which is annoying.
So,
as I was
actually
was
there steam coming out of the computer or what?
I don't know, to be honest. As I was actually listening to you talk, so it must be the British Telecom. It is a BT.
So you're listening to me talk. So
I was listening to you on YouTube.
On YouTube.
So
okay.
yeah, I was. Yeah, so I think I'm sorted now. So hopefully we can crack on with what we were going to be talking about.
Well, okay. I'm getting all sorts of messages. Is Bairstow in the squad or not?
No, he's been rested for the first two tests, I believe, which is I think we touched on the other day with Simon, with Wilco. He's one of our better players with spin. I don't necessarily agree with him being in the test side in England or in other parts of the world, but I think subcontinent.
So hang on, are you saying that Bairstow has not travelled to India?
No, I think first two tests he's not in the squad for the first two tests. So it's interesting really, because selectors are talking about resting and rotating the squad, because England have got, I think, 17 tests this year plus a 2020 World Cup. So there's a lot of cricket, but you know, the guys are being rested, but they're going to go and play in the IPL. And it's, you know, I get why they would do that, but I would have thought that surely if you're going to rest for anything, then you might rest for the IPL and want to prioritise playing for your country, if that makes sense. So.
Now, Anshuman Sinha is saying that well, his words weren't the same as mine. He's saying I was inebriated. If you know me well enough, I don't drink at all. Zero. The only thing I overdo is chocolates, donuts, and maybe the occasional McDonald's hamburger. If that's a form of overdose or abuse, yes. But Anshu Sinha, pull your head in, mate. I'm not at all anything other than sober. All right, just to make that very clear. Okay. Now,
is that just due to the quality of Australian beer? You know, the Tui's and the VB and the isn't touching the.
Okay, so let me go through the England squad for me, because I've been misinformed. Bairstow's been rested for the first two. What about Wood?
Wood's out for the first two. I understand Wood. His fitness has always been a struggle. I think he's had 3 ankle operations or something. So he's someone I think they see very key for the potentially the one-day stuff as well. So they'll manage his workload. And I get why you would manage the bowlers' workload, same as Anderson and Broad, but surely you've got a test match series in India, and you batsmen just want to be playing all the time, don't they?
All right. So what I'm surmising, then it'll be either Anderson / Broad for the first test.
I would have thought so.
With Archer.
Yeah, I don't see them not playing Archer. I think that the good thing about the IPL is that a few of our guys have played a lot more cricket in India than they would have normally had the opportunity to do so. So someone like Archer and Stokes, I think, will be in as good a place as any sort of overseas tourist, because they played 4 or 5 years on the pitches. They'll know how to bowl, and I think that should play into our hands, hopefully.
Okay, so are we looking at? Let's just go through a likely England lineup then.
Yep.
We're looking at Burns and Sipley opening.
Yep.
With the likes of, and I've just the name's gone from my thoughts. Crawley first drop.
Crawley at 3. I'd have thought, yeah.
Second.
Yep.
Then
Stokes at 5.
Stokes 5.
Stokes 5. I don't know what they'll do with Lawrence. I think it comes down to how many spinners they want to play. But I think they'll go Stokes 5, Butler 6, Moeen Ali 7, Dom Bess 8, Jack Leach 9, and then 10, 11 Archer and Anderson. It depends. They might take a view and play Lawrence over Bess and play 2 spinners plus Root.
Do you think they're going to play 3 spinners?
I don't know. I'm not sure if they'll feel that. I think that they'll want to.
Okay. I don't think they will. I think that would be an overkill slightly.
They often play three
But
spinners in the subcontinent. We have often, I think that they'll just see. I think they'll play two spinners. I think they'll want to play an extra batter. I just don't know whether they'll see that Bess adds enough. It'll be interesting. That's the only slot I see up for debate is Lawrence or Bess. I think it will be one or the other, and the rest will be picks itself, I think.
okay, so Butler will be the keeper
For the first test only, yeah. He's playing in the first test, and then he's going home as well, I think, or flying back up. I think his wife might be pregnant. I could be completely wrong. Or they're just resting him, but he's only playing in the first test. So then I'd expect Folks to come in for the second test, probably for us.
So Ben Folks is already there?
Yeah, he's in the squad, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that makes a bit of sense. I was talking earlier about England's batting lineup still being brittle. I mean, the fact that I was talking Bairstow up and he's not there. I know there's a resting policy. Yeah, I get that, but I don't know. I'm confused a little bit. I think Australia's gone the other extreme where they're not resting anyone. England's now gone to this rotation policy, which Australia's kind of avoided.
Yeah.
Hasn't helped both sides, in my opinion. Is the way that India are doing it is the best. They bring their best team forward. They bring guys and let them, they give them the full run to be themselves under the Rahane/Kohli regimes that have been going on. I like the way India approached it. This rotation for rotation's sake worries me.
Yeah,
they need to win the first and second test. They really do. Yeah. So they should have, in my opinion, put Broad and Anderson together.
Yeah, they might do. As I said, they might play him over Best. They might play both. I think that I don't think England have ever had a problem with rotating for the sake of it. I think that, as I said, we've got 17 tests this year on the 2021.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can only deal with it, but you can only deal with the tests that are in front of you.
Of course, I just think that's why they're doing it.
There's 100 tests in the next 10 years. That's going to be relevant to me.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you should pick I think that Broad and Anderson bowl best when they're together, not separate. And I find that rather remarkable. Like when Lilly and Thompson or whatever pairing you want to mention, like Southey and Bolt, they don't play them on a rotation basis, do they?
No.
I don't get it. I'm dead against. I think they're getting a bit. I know they're getting older. I appreciate that, but if they can knock over the first two tests with those two firing all cylinders, they can support them by then rotating. And once they've had their victories, you can't rest people pending a win when it doesn't come. I'm finding that I'm quite adamant that that's a wrong decision.
Yeah,
I'm going to put my neck out and say it's wrong.
I don't necessarily agree. I think that Broad and Anderson bowl very well together in the right conditions. Are they going to be suited to a potentially slower, lower subcontinent wicket, where bowling on what they bowl and what they specialise in? I don't know if they are going to be the best. I agree that they are a brilliant pair, but I don't think the selectors are sat there going, we're not going to play both. I think they're going to take a view on it, and I think their general view was for this winter, we're playing 2 test series in the subcontinent. There's every chance that Broad and Anderson aren't going to be needing the same side, and that someone like Bess or an Archer or a Leach is going to offer more to the attack than Broad and Anderson together. Like, that's not saying.
I stand firm on the fact that they should be firing on all cylinders in the first test. When India, if anything, will be somewhat dull after having a euphoria of the Australian series. Yeah, let's see. Now, just quickly, Jack Daniels, and it sounds like an alcoholic drink to start with, wants to talk about Rishabh Pant. Now, I can only talk glowingly about that. Now, you and I disagree. You and Simon last time round were adamant that De Kock should be the keeper, who's currently captain in a side that's doing okay at 1 for 161. But Rishabh Pant's still my go-to man. I'll pick every time. There's also discussion on Sanju Samson. I'm not sure why would you bring him into play when the team's been playing so. I don't understand that one. Yeah. All right. So you're saying let's go through a side: Burns, Sibley, Crawley, Root.
Yep.
Stokes, Butler, Ali, Broad, or I'm saying Broad and Anderson. I like that.
Yep.
But with Archer and Leach, or maybe Bess in the 12. Yeah.
I think that the one slot is, I think there's 10 definites. I think the one slot is, do they play Bess as a third spinner? Do they play Lawrence as an extra batter, or do they play Broad or Anderson as the extra seamer? I think that's the only slot that's up for debate, and they'll just have to maybe take a view on the pitch. It might turn up and it looks, it looks like a dust bowl. and they might probably play the extra spinner or an extra batter. They might turn up and there might be a little bit of grass on it. I don't know what the Indian wickets are going to be like. They might take a view that the conditions might suit Broad Anderson swing, or it might reverse, and they might play that. But I think that there's 10 definite slots, and I think that that last slot, sort of the number 8/batter role /seamer role, will be what they make the call on, if that makes sense. I think that they'll have. I think they'll have 10 people penciled in with one slot.
I would certainly be playing Broad Anderson in the first test and going for it all guns blazing. That's just me. And look, how many wickets did Anderson take? 6 wickets in the recent Sri Lankan Test match.
Yeah,
on a wicket that will be arguably not that different to Chennai.
No, I think Anderson will play the first test. I don't have any issues. It'll be Broad, Bess, or Lawrence. I think for that last slot.
Yeah. All right. So the Indian side, I think, is pretty settled, but pending injuries. That's all. Whether the likes of Ashwin's fit, Jadeja's already out, Punt's in, whether they go for an Agarwal or whomever at that 6th position. Hardik Pandya might get a go. He's back in Washington. Sundar's there. KL Rahul's around as well. Now, I'm always been miffed what's gone on there. He was certainly playing one-day T20 stuff in Australia and didn't even look at it in the test match. But will he be more prominent at home is the question. Well, certainly. And Shiraz Iyer has not done anything wrong, Max Brown is saying. Well, he hasn't, but he's going to find it pretty hard to get in this Indian side, I'll tell you. Okay. I've talked about South Africa and Pakistan while you're away. Looks like it's back on even keel, despite Pakistan having quite a significant lead. I would argue that there could be a matter of. I think it's going to turn out to be a great match, and it's been played in Karachi as well, which is the territory of Pakistan. I still predict Pakistan will win that match. I think they're going to come out.
Though, South Africa are now in the lead with 9 wickets in hand. I don't see, unless even if they collapse, say they lose next for 100, you can probably say that Pakistan are favourites. But if South Africa can get anything over a 150 lead, not many. There aren't many successful run chasers in the subcontinent over 150. I would say so. If they can get 150, 200 lead, I think that's going to be very tough for Pakistan.
Mind you, it's nobody's played in Karachi or anywhere in Pakistan for so long. Who really knows? I mean, both teams can't claim to be truly masters of that ground at all. No. All right, so that's pretty much there. And I think with England versus India, I still can't see India losing either the first or second match. Best England can do is draw. 3rd and 4th will come into play more. Perhaps they may have a chance of winning one of those, but it's 3-0 to me. Not 4, but 3-0.
Yeah, I think that England will struggle to win the series, but I think it might be more closely contested than you'd think. I think England are starting to get a bit of a habit together of winning. I think they've won, well, not lost in 12 tests now or something. So I think that they'll compete, and I think that India, of all people, of all sides, to go into a series and overestimate or underestimate a side, having just first and foremost that series in Australia, I think they'd be very stupid to not take England seriously. I think that England will go out with full of confidence. I think that Root is starting to maybe show that he can score big runs, and I think that picks people up, and I think that would take the side. If England's spinners can bowl well, and I'm not saying they'll out-bowl India's spinners, but if they can bowl well and keep an end down, I think that the series, I think that it will be more closely contested than you think. I think India might win 2-1. Or, I think England win the test.
Okay. All right. So we've knocked over Pakistan, South Africa. We've done a fair bit of talk on India and England.
Yep.
The Australia-South African series is still a bit down the track. We still haven't got precise dates of that tour. It's a bit confusing as to, they're sorting those dates out. But Australia, as I think I mentioned earlier, and may not talk to you about this specifically, but they've obviously dropped Wade. They've got Travis Head still floating around that squad. They've blooded 5 new players, well, in the test squad, that is. Sticky, who's a bowler from Queensland's not too bad. The likes of Abbott's in there as well. It's not much of a change, really. I mean, they brought Alex Carey in, which he's virtually going from the T20 ODI squads straight into the Australian squad. backup keeper and probably backup captain. It's an argument that could well be there as well. And Pattinson's back. James Pattinson's back from injury. I'm seeing him get a game, quite a few games. He's a damn good bowler, and
Pattinson,
he wasn't fit. He could have made a difference even in the Australia-India series if he had a go.
He played a lot in England, didn't he?
Has again mentioned the fact that Leach is not certainly to play. I think he's not really a certainty at all. All right, so I've asked you to take on a role, haven't I, Chris, regarding the likes of the IPL. There's an auction coming up in February.
Yeah,
and we'll
February
be talking
18th.
a lot about the IPL. We want to dissect the teams, and I'm going to bring on some other people to bring some of our female counterparts to take on roles, to take on a group of IPL teams to work out who's who in the zoo. So IPL is certainly going to come onto the agenda. The Big Bash. Now, the Big Bash currently in Australia, we have the likes of the Sydney Sixers, Perth Scorchers, the Sydney Thunder, and Brisbane Heat. I think are the four that I'm aware of.
Well, I think there's 5, isn't it? I think 5.
Well, Adelaide Strikers as well are the chance, but I think they're not going to be there. That's just my thoughts. Because Brisbane Heat are playing Adelaide Strikers, I believe.
And the Eliminator, is that right?
Yeah, the Eliminator. So I can't see Brisbane Heat losing that, to be honest. So there we're going to keep to our Test series, which is our stronghold. Bring in the BBL and IPL where appropriate. The auction will be pretty. I think there's a lot of interest in the IPL auction, although it's a mini auction, not a full auction. So there's our standing point. Australia versus South Africa. Look, I'm not even going to entertain discussing that until we know when the dates are specifically.
Yeah.
But as you said, explain to me how England have got a 17 Test series this year. How are they catching up? Is that what it is?
I don't know. They've obviously got the 6 this winter away from home. Then they've got India. We've got India in a 5-match series in England in the summer, in July or August. So that could be a revenge time for us, I think. Hopefully, we've got New Zealand for 2 tests, which is just ridiculous. Really, I don't know why we've got the current #1 Test side in the world in the rankings, New Zealand, or certainly one of the best, and we play them in a 2-match Test series. I think it's ridiculous. It's like India or South Africa coming here and playing 2 tests. I just don't get it. And New Zealand seem to be often the ones that just play 2 Test series. They play Australia 2 tests. It's just a shame. They've got so many good players. I think that a lot of their players get. I imagine if Williamson had played the level of Test cricket that some of other batsmen around the world, or Bolt and Southey, had played as many tests. It's just a shame to see such a great side only playing over here in 2 tests.
No. So the World Cup's in amongst that as well, which is going to.
Is it in Australia? Is it in Australia?
No. Well, at this point, it's in India.
Okay.
It's the year after that it goes to Australia again. And whether they play that in India or somewhere like the UAE is going to be of interest as well. So there's a fair bit on, but I want you to concentrate on the elements of the BBL and IPL for me as much as you can.
Yeah.
The Test series we talked quite a bit about. And for all the viewers here, we're going to have it action-packed. Our plan is in the India versus England Test series, we're going to have, not only are we going to have post-match reviews, we're also going to have an introduction to this particular platform. And I don't think it's done well enough, often enough. We'll have our own live chats at both lunch on day 1 to 5, if it goes 5 days, and a small snippet of live during the tea intervals as well. But it'll be quick, but we'll get them done. And obviously post-match we'll have a more detailed analysis. Why are we doing that? Well, I believe it's always, when the post-match discussion comes on, you rattle off the whole day's play. That can be quite lengthy. We will certainly do that in a certain way, but I think it's best to attack the matter as it develops. And because of the time differences, well, it's perfectly suitable to India because it's your time slot. But I think the rest of the world would probably need that more so. It'd be quite difficult to wait just to the end for the results of the day. They would like to hear it progressively. So that's our plan. I've got the likes of Monty Panesar, Simon Willis. We've got Chris Vernon. We'll have a number of Indian people as well, right through from, I think, Aparna Saini. We'll have, hopefully, Kritika's got some time and a few others. We've got some good people to bring on for that as well. So that's going to be very action-packed. So please stay tuned to this platform. We'll have plenty of reasons to have you on. If want to have some decisive discussions about what's going on. So everyone on board here, please listen in. We'll be doing that. I mean, this is episode 6 of this series, is it not? We may have to put that on a little bit of a hold while we head to a true test series discussion. But yeah, that's a great bit of coverage. I mean, I guess the other thing that is of interest to me is, well, I mean, the racial matter which is going on in Australia is still going on. In fact, the case is fully opened up. They had some findings which I announced during the week as to a certain specific incident at 86 over has been knocked out as not being a racial form of slur or abuse. But there's plenty of other incidents throughout the day which are still under investigation. So that's going on. The IPL will be obviously a big winner, but I'm particularly keen on the India-England series. I think there'll be a lot of interest on that, especially with Ahmedabad being the new venue. And they've got an action-packed T20 series as well, I think it is, in between, somewhere along the line. So, yeah. Australia play New Zealand. I've forgotten to add on as well in a mini-series there. Again, that hasn't, well, it's meant to be New Zealand, but that hasn't been confirmed either. I'm pretty sure it'll be New Zealand, but there's been one case or something in New Zealand. Everybody's gone a bit nanas about it. Sydney, for example, has had several days of no cases, and we're running around still with masks in shopping centres, but mostly masks are becoming a little bit of a bygone thing. What's it like there in England at the moment?
Oh, it's pretty bad. We're still in a full lockdown officially, so no pubs, no restaurants, no shops are open really, apart from essential sort of food. I think that our death toll went over 100,000 this week.
Right.
And we're still, I think it's slowly coming back down to where it needs to be, but I think we're still recording over 10,000 cases a day at the moment. So it's not great. I think the vaccination's being rolled out pretty quickly. And I think that the schools are shut. They announced yesterday till at least the first week of March. So another 6 weeks, schools will be shut.
Oh, really?
So I think we're all sat here pretty down, but I think ultimately if we can have a summer, so come May time, that's back to some sort of normality, I think that a lot of people would be happy with that. So until then, we're just sat in, getting up at 4:30 to watch England beat India in a test series, hopefully.
Well, I mean, I guess no excuses for the English to be there watching the matches till late. What time difference is it? It'll be early morning when the game starts.
Yeah, I think it will start 4:30, 5 in the morning, our time. So
incredible. Whereas here it's a bit more comfortable in Australia. The match will finish getting close to midnight. So we need to work our times out to get that all happen. We've got plenty of help. We've got lots of people on deck. We've got Monty. I'm even going to try and bring in Jeff, Tomo, and Doug Walters for a bit of a spurt as well. We've got that series which is happening this weekend with Mervyn Richards and a truckload of West Indian greats. We might drag a few of those people to come in. We'll have a bit of fun with it. We'll have a multi-screen, massive thing going on. We'll have a bit of fun. So, all right. I'm pretty much out of topics at this point. The BBL finalists, just quickly.
Who do you think will win?
Sorry?
Who do you think will win?
I'm a Sydney Sixers. Tragic. They look damn strong, to be honest.
Okay, I'll play against you because I think the Thunder will win. I think the Thunder will win. I would like the Thunder to win. I know Sam Billings quite well. I've played quite a lot of cricket with him, and it's always good to see the Poms do well. And Alex Hales, record 6-hitter in a BBL season, leading run scorer by about 100. It would be nice to see the flagship Australian T20 tournament to be dominated by a POM in the final. So let's go.
Well, my question is, why aren't they in the national sides?
Billings will be in the one-day 2020 squads. Probably not quite there test-wise yet, especially with the keepers we've got. Alex Hales is a. I think that he has been a very naughty boy, to quote the life of Brian, on a few occasions, and I think that
naughty boy. What do you mean?
Well, he's failed a couple of drugs tests and has a bit of a record that precedes him. And I'll be brutally honest. I think everyone knows he should be in the one-day side. Like, he's, in my opinion, in the top 3 opening bats in the world in 2020 cricket. I think that if he is available in an IPL auction, I think that a franchise would be very lucky to have him. That's for sure.
Chris Wokes, what's the story with him?
In what respect?
Well, he was that in Moeen Ali's car or whatever.
I think that he's fit. I think that he didn't play in the second test just because he wasn't quite match ready. As far as I'm aware, he's gone to India. I think that he's another one of the Broad Anderson argument. I don't think he's going to be at his most effective.
Fit him in?
Well, I don't think that they will. I don't think that he'll play unless injuries or unless something else happens. But I just don't think he's going to be as effective in those conditions as he would be over here.
Okay. We've got a comment from KP. He says, please, your views on Surya Kumar as number 4 in the ODIs. Well, that's a bit of a bolter, isn't it? It's a name that I haven't heard in the mix. So I'm not sure whether you know anything about Surya Kumar.
Yeah, he plays for the Mumbai Indians in the IPL. Is that
no,
right?
I know that.
Yeah. No, I'm just making sure I've got the right person. But no, he always looks a fantastic player when I've seen him in the IPL. Obviously, it probably helps coming in at 3 or 4 behind De Kock and Rohit Sharma in that side, often getting off to good starts in a successful team. So I think India just have such a great array and depth of talent. You know, population size is a thing there just by sort of the love of cricket and the size of the population. They're always going to have a vast array of talent and depth of it. So there's so many blokes there that are queuing up to have a go, and I'm sure they would all take their chance as and when they get it.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, it's becoming a bit, as Greg Chappell put, how are we surprised India's doing well? They've got such an incredible depth. But my concern with India is that they don't get too complacent at this incredible level of play, because even though they've got plenty of players that are coming in, the ones that are actually in there have to fire on the day, which they've done, yes, I know recently in Australia. The complacency is the only thing I'm worried about. And the down of winning the 4th test, euphoria, best series ever. There'll be a little bit of downside with Kohli around. Everyone I'm talking to the majority of Australians and Indian Australians at the moment in Sydney, and I haven't heard of anything other than a glowing comment. The only question is always coming up, is there a so-called concern about Kohli, Rahane and captaincy? Well, they're both in the side. They're captain, vice-captain. Whether you've got a C or a VC, they're both going to have that role, and they're yin and yang perfectly. With Rohit Sharma, their Pujara, my God, they've got the most experienced captaincy regime you could ever get, quite frankly. Any one of those 4 players could captain and captain well. So they're not losing out. If they've got a player off the field, they're not losing anything, are they?
No.
All right. Anything you'd like to add, Chris? We haven't spoken about the 9-10-11, have we?
No, we can do that. We can touch on that quickly if you like.
Let's do that quickly, huh?
Okay, let me get my board.
Let's see if we can see it this time.
Let me see if I do the chair.
Okay, read out the top 8.
So we've got Warner, Elgar, Williamson / Root, Kohli, Smith, Stokes, De Kock or Pant, and then Ashwin or Jadeja. So that's our sort of makeup of the side at the moment.
Well, you have to take Jadeja out of there because, I'm not saying that he's not playing well, but he is injured.
Okay.
So he certainly can't play if they had picked the side.
So we've gone with Ashwin.
It looks like Rabada's got to be in there. He's bowling so well.
Yep. I'm gonna throw my neck out there. My 3 would be Anderson, Cummings, and Rabada, and I don't think that there's much debate on my part for those 3.
The only one is Bumrah for me.
Just don't think he's there to that quality yet. I actually would probably have Broad, Bolt, maybe Hazelwood. I think that Bumrah falls into that sort of next tier. For me, I don't think he's played 16, 17 tests, and he's had a good start. But the other guys that we're talking about, Rabada, I think I saw a stat on Twitter. He's and I'll find it for you now. 2 secs. He's the 3rd quickest man to take 200 test wickets in balls bowled ever. Wakar Younis and Dale Steyn are the only 2 quicker than him to 200 test wickets.
And that's Rabada.
Yeah, and he's the 4th youngest ever to take 200 test wickets.
Well, he's damn fit, isn't he? He rarely has any true injuries. He's quite an amazing creature. He just bowls so well all the time. Yeah, he's a bit of a freak, actually. Yeah, I think I'm along the same lines as you. I only think about I have Rabada, Cummins, I'm thinking Boomer somewhere in there. That's my only word that I would have. But yeah, the
I
other
think
thing with
that
Anderson, even though he's bowling so well and took 6 wickets recently, look, from an age perspective, you have to consider that a little bit. He hasn't got much for the future to go. Let's hope that he does, but he may not. So who knows? All right.
but at the moment, I think that he's still, as I said, his last 50 Test matches, he's taken 200 wickets at 23, which is up there with the best, which is as good as coming.
No, I've got no doubt about it. You're going to support him because he's English anyway. So why am I bothering him? My best bowlers are still Dennis Lilly and Jeff Thompson, and I'm going to bring Jeff on this show to talk about how good a bowler he was, and he'll tell us a few things. All right. So what you can do, Chris, is 2 things: bit of IPL, BBL homework for us.
Yep.
But also that 11 that we've scribbled on the board, that we've included a few names. Can you put that into the both on Twitter and on the YouTube channel page in the commentary, if you don't mind?
Yep.
And there's quite a few questions that are directed straight at you, Chris. You need to answer too on those pages, by the way. So have a good look and answer them. All right. So what was the other thing I was going to say? Again, our Twitter handles are at VERN158 for Chris Vernon. That's at VERN158. If you're not on our Twitter handles, you should be. And mine is at Norm Koch, also on Twitter, Instagram. No point in Facebook. I'm not as big a Facebook fan as I used to be, and I've got 5,000 there at the moment, so we don't need any more there. But certainly, we're talking to you through Twitter and YouTube, and a bit on Instagram. So, everyone, thank you for your time. Any last words, Chris?
No, I don't have Instagram, so don't worry about finding me on Instagram. But I'm happy to answer any questions on Twitter, Twitter or the YouTube channel. But no, I can upload this. I think with the IPL coming up, maybe we can, once the auction's been done, we can do a chat about and get the viewers chatting about what my favourite IPL team, if I had to pick, of the current squads available, and maybe we can set up a dream team. You know, there's a lot of fantasy leagues out there. I can probably set one of those up, and we can get the viewers involved, and maybe
that's your job to do that, Chris. You've got a job. I mean, Mumbai Indians, for God's sake, how could you not go for them? Jeez.
Yeah, I mean they're always one of the favourites, aren't they? Always up there, but
just an amazing team. They absolutely smashed it.
I'm still in the Raw Challengers group, so
yeah. All right, now just quickly, obviously, please view, like, and share these posts. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. We do have a percentage, something like 80% of the people that visit these shows that we have on are not subscribed. They're not subscribed. So it would help to subscribe. You're on here anyway. It helps us with a lot of things we're trying to do. So that would be appreciated if you could subscribe, but certainly share it as well. So our next discussion will be just before probably the test. I'm not sure of the date yet, but on our so-called 7th episode. But if you like to pass us comments, we can add that into the fray. But the test is going to be quite sizable as well. We'll have more updates on Pakistan versus South Africa leading into it, and any selection issues that may come up. So thanks for your time. Thanks for your time, Chris, despite your 15 minutes where you were AWOL.
Well, fashionably late, Norman. You know, it's being fashionably late. It's the thing.
You can't be fashionably late if you were talking to me before the broadcast. That's not fashion. You were fashionably early and then disappeared for whatever.
That's true.
All right, Chris. Thanks for your time, mate. I appreciate it. And all our viewers, stay tuned. We'll get plenty more happening. This is Norman Kochannek on Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochannek. Again, guys, thanks for all your. We're getting close to 10,000 now. I'm pretty happy with that. So thanks. Let's keep growing, huh? All the best, guys. See you soon.
See you later, guys.
See you, Chris.